Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli said that those involved in violent acts during a pro-monarchy protest in the country will not be spared. Speaking at the House of Representatives, Oli warned that even former King Gyanendra Shah would be punished if found involved in the violence. Now, he said that the former King Shah should not be given freedom either, and those claiming they will reclaim the throne and dismantle the system should first clarify their stance on the violence. Now, the Nepal government has reportedly initiated the process of revoking Gyanendra Shah's passport, the former king of Nepal, over his alleged involvement in inciting the pro-monarchy protests in Kathmandu. Officials claim that the move aims to prevent Shah from leaving the country while an investigation into the protest is underway. Gyanendra Shah was also issued a letter demanding fine by Kathmandu's civic body following the damage caused by the public property by the protesters as well as the environment during those protests that broke out in Kathmandu. Now, violence, remember, broke out between the police and the pro-monarchy activists in Kathmandu as protests erupted, demanding the restoration of monarchy and Nepal's status as a Hindu kingdom. Remember, Nepal was the last Hindu kingdom until 2008. Authorities have imposed a curfew in the aftermath of violence as of today, and the army was deployed to maintain order. The pro-monarchists were organizing rallies in Kathmandu and other parts of the country demanding the reinstatement of the 240-year-old monarchy, which I mentioned earlier, was abolished in 2008 following protests. So what's exactly happening in Nepal? Why are people asking for monarchy to be brought back? Let's talk about that. Joining us is Ambassador S.D. Muni, professor and former Indian diplomat. Ambassador, I think it's a very complex situation as we see it. While the world over, people are fighting for perhaps, monarchies and fighting autocracies. Nepal seems to be heading the other way. It wants to bring back monarchy. Why is that?
Well, don't say that Nepal is heading towards it. A section of Nepal is heading towards it.
Okay.
Because in my understanding, the support base for monarchy in Nepal is very still thin. It's not a very strong. It's not a countrywide upsurge in favor of the king. In fact, the large majority of the people have opted for Republican system. Not only in 2008 they did, but even in the recent elections, the parties which are pro-monarchist parties have received very little support, and they stand at the 5th or 6th status in their number so far as parliament is concerned. Therefore, it should not be seen. It can swell. I don't deny the possibility that in future more and more people can come in support of monarchy's revival. But at the moment, it is not the majority opinion, but it has become very active and very violent, and largely because people are frustrated with the way the Republican governments and the leaders have been functioning. They have not been delivering good governance. People are still, there is a huge corruption all around. And people are totally dissatisfied with the way they are being ruled. They are being governed by the political parties and the Republican leaders.
Okay.
So it is really a manifestation of frustration against the Republican system rather than a support for monarchy.
All right, frustration against Republican system. Ambassador Muni, since 2008, when Nepal did become a democracy, when monarchy was abolished, there was, of course, a need realized amongst people to have fair and free elections. But in the last reign of KP Sharma Oli, in the existing reign of KP Sharma Oli, people are not very happy with his administration. There are rampant charges of corruption, of mismanagement, and hence the reason why people believe that perhaps prior to 2008 they were better and well off.
No, that's true that people are unhappy with the Oli regime. People are unhappy with all other Republican leaders. Even there are huge charges of corruptions against others, like the Prachanda of the Maoist and Devba of the Nepali Congress. there are so many other people who are involved in corruption charges. So that is absolutely correct that the present leadership has turned out to be very dissatisfactory, bit frustrating for the people. But the situation of instability and corruption was not very bright before 2008. In fact, if the king had functioned well, if the monarchy had functioned well, Nepal's development would have taken place, and then even the movements like the Maoist movement would not have arisen. So, you look at the history 2000, before 2008, the first constitution of democratization actually came in 60, which the king threw away, and then again in 1990, which Gyanendra violated in terms of asserting himself authoritatively. It was not for nothing that they removed the king. Therefore, those who are asking for the revival of the monarchy must go back to the historical period and see what the monarchy had delivered to Nepal in terms of development and progress. And if they make a comparative decision, I think the things would be much better in terms of what the present situation is. But the corruption and inefficiency, malgovernance are certainly the right charges and allegations against the Republican leaders.
Ambassador Muni, would it be right, therefore, to say that neither democracy has functioned really well for Nepal, nor has monarchy in the past?
Well, look, monarchy has a 250-year-old history. The Republican system has only last 17 years of history. So we are making a judgment too soon. And I tell you, in Asia, most of the democracies do permit or suffer corruption and mal governance by the people. We can look at around in Asia, we can look around even in Africa and Latin America. So you find this is a bane of democratic system where you have to take all the people along, and those who come to power anew start exploiting the system for their own advantage. These are the flaws and defects of democratic system. That is true. But the monarchies have not delivered anywhere else. I mean, even in Britain, this is a constitutional monarchy. Nepal's problem was that it expected to have a constitutional monarchy, but the monarchs have never accepted to be constitutional. They always wanted to be very autocratic rulers.
Right.
That was the reason why they were thrown out.
All right. And do you see any resolution to the current ongoing problem while, Prime Minister is warning that those who are involved in the violent protest, action will be taken on them, including Gyanendra Shah himself? Do you see a resolution coming to fore, perhaps by the way of a constitutional monarchy? Could that be the way forward for Nepal?
Well, constitutional monarchy is the answer. And even those who say that we want to bring the king back are asking for constitutional monarchy. The problem is that monarch, and particularly Gyanendra Shah, who was the ruler earlier, doesn't give any satisfactory, any assuring evidence that he would be a constitutional monarch, firstly. Secondly, I think the present government has to negotiate, talk to these people. And the kind of punishments which they are talking about must be based on objective assessment and investigations of what actually happened when the violence was unleashed. Whatever the newspaper reports normally say, that the violence was started or provoked by the monarchist protesters, because somebody drove a car and hurt many of the police officers and security people there, which invoked a retaliation from the police, and the violence thus occurred. Therefore, there must be a proper investigation and find out who actually is at fault, and anyone who is at fault must be punished. If the government runs in a ruthless manner, then I think it will give more support and backing to the monarchist movement and protest. Therefore, much would depend upon how the government handles the situation. It is a sensitive situation, it is a complex situation, and much depends upon the maturity of the government in handling it.
All right, a very sensitive situation there unfolding as far as Nepal is concerned. People there caught between a rock and a hard place right now. On one hand, choosing to go back to a monarchy that did not really work for them. at least up until 2008. It worked for them for 215 years, and just about in 17 years' time now, turning away from democracy, from republic institutions. Ambassador S.T. Muni, thank you.